Hey everyone, it's Possum Breath, but you can call me PB for short. This is going to be kind of a off-the-cuff video. I don't have a script or anything that I'm working off of like I did for most of my other videos, so I guess you get to hear me raw and unfiltered. That'll be fun. December was a pretty long month for me. I'm sure it was for you too, for whatever reason. Family, holidays, the end of school for a lot of people. I know that I spent most of the beginning of the month just drowning in final essays, and I'm sure the rest of you can relate. But I'm done now and I'm free, so that's great. But I decided, you know what, I really need serotonin. I'm not gonna rush to try and get the Sage Clan video out. Instead, I'm gonna just do something that will give me serotonin, and that'll be my holiday gift to myself. So I decided, since the new Pokemon game has come out and both me and my partner have been mainline playing it, anytime we have a free second, I would draw us as Pokemon trainers. We talk a lot, actually, about our Pokemon teams and, like, if we were gym leaders, what our gym would be, and how we'd test people that wanted to come to our gym, and what our double battle strategy would be, because obviously we would be a double battle gym. And what we settled on is that we are a dual type bug and grass gym. They train grass types and I train bug types because those are our favorites. And we have kind of like a farm. You know, those farms where you can go and kind of pick your own produce or pick your own berries. And they have like a little gift shop where you can buy honey sticks and already picked produce and things like that. And we would run one of those in the off time between challenges. And you could come and you could go on like a hayride, or you could go and pick your own pumpkin and then go and catch your own pumpkaboo. It would be very cute. But so the idea is you challenge us and you face us together, and we have a team of bugs and grass types, and then we have a little bit of overlap. Mostly because my partner loves Frostmoth, and I couldn't possibly take Frostmoth away from them. So they get to have that bug. That's theirs. That's on their team. It is weird thinking that there are some people watching this video that weren't alive when Pokemon came out, which I know is the case. Pokemon came out when I was very young, but I remember a time before it existed, and I remember how huge it was when I was a kid. You couldn't escape it. It was everywhere. I watched the show, mostly, the original show, the 4Kids dub, and I never actually played the games because my grandparents never bought me a console. I remember one time my friend came over, and she had the newest Game Boy, which at the time was the Game Boy Color, which was so exciting because it had colors, you know, and she had Pokemon Gold, and I was like, can I play it? And so she let me play her copy of Pokemon Gold, but I couldn't save, obviously, because you could only have one save file back then. So I remember I would play it up about until Sprout Tower, and then that was when my friend had to leave. So whenever I would see her, I would just play the beginning of Pokemon Gold over and over again. Which is really funny. And then I didn't really interact with Pokemon from Gen 2 onwards. I remember peripherally, like my little cousin had the Gen 3 games and all that, but I didn't play it. I didn't play a Pokemon game again until Generation 6, when X and Y came out, because I had just got a DS for myself. I bought it secondhand, and I got a copy of Animal Crossing New Leaf, and I got a copy of Pokemon Y. And going from remembering what Crystal was like to Pokemon Y was wild. They were all in 3D now. It was completely different. You could change your outfits. There were so many Pokemon that I had never seen because I hadn't kept up with the Pokedex. It was really fun, honestly. It was kind of like rediscovering the game all over again. So that was when I discovered my favorite Pokemon, which, if you couldn't already guess from the outlines in this picture, my favorite Pokemon is Scolipede. There's a point in Pokemon X and Y where you're walking down this entryway to this rich guy's house, and Pokemon can jump out of the bushes at you. And I remember a Venipede jumped out of the bushes at me, and I had never seen a Venipede before, had no idea what it was, but I was like, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then I found out that it evolves into a giant bug horse, and I've loved it ever since. People dunk on bug types a lot because bug is traditionally not a very strong type. It's kind of like, you know, the early game bugs are always the wimpy ones. There's a lot of Pokemon that don't really do much beyond fill a niche. They're not good competitively, or there's other things that work better than them. But I've always loved bug types. For me, at least, with Pokemon, what matters more is that I like the design and less how competitively viable it is. Not to say I don't have, you know, a passing interest in making competitive teams. I think the team building aspect is really fun. But mostly I just want to play with my favorite little guys. So you can see here I'm starting to outline the jacket. I wanted the jacket to look like a Scolipede, so you can see it has the antenna. I forgot the word for antenna. That's how you can tell it's been a long month. You can see I'm outlining the antenna there, and then I've got the big puffy sleeves to kind of look like the segmented parts of the Scollipede's body. You can also see, I didn't mention it while I was drawing it, but you can see I put my partner's hair up with a little Carnivine alligator clip, and then I made the hair in that, like, messy bun coming up look like Oddish leaves, because their favorite Pokemon is the Oddish line. They love Oddish, they love Gloom, they love Vileplume. This is kind of how I do most of my drawings. When you've seen me draw for the Bush Clan and Bay Clan videos, it hasn't taken me this long and it hasn't been this detailed because cats aren't as detailed, honestly. I don't need to worry about drawing clothes on them. But with something like this, with two people interacting, two people wearing clothes that I was kind of designing as I was drawing them, I needed to do a lot more sketches. And that's kind of how I draw normally, is I'll just do a little sketch, and then do a slightly more detailed sketch, and then do a slightly more detailed sketch, and then do a slightly more detailed sketch, kind of as I'm working, as I'm lining, if there are parts that I think I need more detail on before I can line them. Or if there's parts that look weird to me that I think I should go over again before I do the final lines. Like, spoiler alert, that shoe I'm working on right now is gonna look completely different when this is done. I think that's one of my biggest pieces of advice, is to not be too precious about your art. If you think something looks weird, something needs to be redrawn, delete it and start again. As my favorite art YouTubers, Drawfee, would say, delete your art. Don't get too attached to the first thing you draw. If you get too attached to the first thing that you draw, you might miss out on other good things. Like, the first time I drew my partner's hair, I didn't have that Oddish leaf idea in there, and then I had it and I added it in, and it totally made it even cuter, I think. Yeah, there we go. I've got the little kind of buttons that look like Scollipede's legs. I thought that was cute. You're gonna see me, again, oh, I'm gonna struggle with these hands so much. I'm just warning you now, a lot of this video is gonna be me drawing and redrawing hands. For the style, I also kind of meshed two of my styles together. Mostly when I draw people, I don't draw them like this. I don't draw the noses like that, especially. But I have kind of a halfway jokey anime style I like to draw in sometimes, so I took the noses in from that and kind of, just to kind of make it feel more Pokemon. I knew I wasn't going to be able to ape the Pokemon style. The Pokemon style is very specific. I've tried to draw in it before and I'm not very good at it. But I wanted it to at least feel more anime than my normal style would. You can also see there I've got my little dot, my little mole under my mouth that Doc has. All of my Sonas have that. It's one of my favorite parts of my face, honestly. A lot of people who have moles, you know, they don't like them and they want to hide them away, but I think my mole gives me a lot of character. Oh yeah, see, there we go. Hands. I was having a time of it. I also made my near eyebrow, you can see, kind of the same shape as Scollipede's antenna. I thought that was a neat little thing to bring in. A lot of my design process is just mirroring shapes, seeing shapes that are in the thing that I'm drawing, shapes that I can repeat to kind of give it a cohesive feeling. Oh, I think I'm almost done with that hand. Nope, gonna keep redrawing it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. And then I gave myself a dusk ball because I historically have had the best luck with dusk balls. Anytime I need to catch something, if it's nighttime out, or it's dark, or we're in a cave, dusk balls always are the way to go. These here are based kind of on shoes that I have. I have multiple pairs of Converse. I didn't want to make them too detailed because the picture was already getting pretty detailed. I also redrew them a bunch of times because they kept coming out too big, and I've got tiny little feet. I'm a size 6. Again, like I said, don't be too married to the first thing that you draw, and especially don't be too married to copying your sketch perfectly. I use my sketch as a guideline, but I think that having the freedom to completely change what I've drawn in the sketch makes it a lot easier to do art in general. So then I don't feel like I'm just butchering the sketch when I draw over it. That used to be a huge problem for me. I would get a sketch I really liked, and then I would try and draw over it, and it would never look as good. That's why my sketches now are super loose, so that I don't have that kind of pressure to just redraw the same picture but better. This is also true to life. Most of my pairs of jeans I've had since high school. They still fit me because I am very small. And so they are old and worn out, and most of them have huge holes in the knees. Which I think is a fashion statement, so I'm fine with it. It's like you buy distressed jeans, only I didn't have to pay for it. I did it myself. Yeah, here we go. Here's me completely changing that foot because I was like, I don't want to draw a shoe from this angle. Not today. This is supposed to be for Serotonin. I'm not going to make this harder on myself. But yeah, so anyway, Pokemon. I didn't, like I said, I didn't play from Gen 2 all the way to Gen 6, X and Y, and then I got super into it. I, got all the way into shiny hunting. I was so into shiny hunting. I filled out the entire Pokedex in X and Y, which is back when it was still the National Dex and it was every Pokemon. I filled it out completely so I could get the shiny charm to make shiny hunting easier. And you're going to see when I get to coloring, I'm going to make my Scolipede hoodie a shiny Scolipede coloration. And that's because I spent fully weeks breeding up a shiny Scolipede with the hidden ability speed boost and good stats. Now in the newer games, you can just give them bottle caps and ability capsules and change all that stuff if you want to. But back in the X and Y days, you couldn't do that. If you wanted a good Pokemon, you had to breed for it. And that's what I did. I set myself that incredibly lofty goal. And I did it. Because, my goodness, I cared that much about that bug. It's really funny, actually. I'm not going to spoil the new game, but there's some new Pokemon in this generation that basically pushed my other favorites out of the top 6. It completely redid my top 6 dream team. Like, I cannot describe to you how good the designs in this generation are. I hope that if those of you who play it, you know what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, there's me all again. I'm like, maybe I'll draw the fingers. No, I'm just gonna do a fist. It's easier. I was like, I'm just gonna talk over this. It can't be that hard. Talking for 25 minutes straight is actually more difficult than I thought it would be when I don't have a script. We're learning together, you and I. Because I know there's some YouTubers who can do it. I watch Little Simsy, and she can go on and on and on about whatever while she's talking over her speed builds, and I don't know how she does it. Oh, I rescued a Monstera from Costco. I don't know how many of you are into houseplants. I got super into houseplants over the panorama. So I rescued a Monstera from Costco that was looking just really sad. And since I got it, it has put out almost 10 new leaves, which just makes me so happy. Because that means it likes me. Ah, I've drawn in the ball. I decided to give my partner a friend ball because, one, it matched the color scheme I was going to eventually put in, and two, I think it's adorable. Oh, and here's me adding some dark shadows. I don't usually do that, but again, I wanted to go for a more anime style here, and having the dark, thick shadows is very anime. And I thought it would be more fun when coloring too, and kind of give the piece a little bit more distinction in its visuals. I already really like to vary line weights, and my secret to doing that is I draw on a gigantic canvas with a 50 pixel brush, so that when I have sensitivity turned on, I can get a huge difference in line weights. That's my other big piece of advice. Draw big and draw loose. Don't worry about making all of your lines perfect. What you want to do is make your lines look like purposeful. Like, you can see my line work isn't super clean, but it feels good because it has the motion in it, and it's kind of like rough, but not in a bad way. I think it matches my style better than super clean lines would. This neck gave me a little bit of trouble too. I don't know if you saw me redrawing my partner's face over and over, but that angle gave me a lot of trouble. I got it in the end, though. Oh, see there? The reason I did that is because in the original way I drew it, that ball was just touching the line for the edge of my pants, and that would have made a tangent. It's always better to have things like that overlapping than it is to have them just directly touching. It tends to look better and lead the eye around better, and be less confusing visually. There's actually another tangent that is really unfortunate, that is the edge of my jacket and the small of my partner's back, that makes it a little confusing whether my jacket or their back is in front. It's supposed to be their back, but it looks like my jacket. And I think if I were to go back, I would make that a little bit clearer. Oh, this is a cool thing that Clip Studio can do. You can outline an entire layer. So that's how I do things like shoelaces that I don't want to have to draw individually because those lines are tiny and I'm lazy. I also did that for my glasses. Originally I was going to do round glasses to look better with the scolipede markings, but my glasses are square and I don't like round glasses on myself. I also was going to give my partner their glasses, but most of the time when they're working, they wear contacts, so I figured contacts were better. Oh, and there, you always should flip your canvas. If you can. If that's a thing that your program can do. Because your eye will kind of lean to one side or the other, and when you flip it, you'll realize it looks totally out of whack. So you can see there I finished lining completely, and then flipped it, and then adjusted it so that it looked more correct instead of having a mean lean in one direction. And here we go on the colors. I didn't color drop for this, I just eyeballed references. I know a lot of people get very in their heads about perfect reference and perfect colors and color dropping everything. I don't think you need to do that. I think the only time that is necessary is when you're drawing someone else's character and you want to be sure that you're, being true to their design. But when it's something for you, or something that you're going to do a lot of lighting on, because lighting changes color, obviously, I think it's okay to kind of eyeball it to what looks good together. Yeah, there we go, coming in with the shiny Scolipede. Clip Studio is also really great in that you can set it, when you use the fill bucket, to just fill in specific areas to kind of like go for your line art. You can set one layer to a reference layer and then paint bucket under it, but it will still use your line art layer as where it paint buckets. It's really nice. It's one of those settings I had to mess with a bit to get the feel of what it did, and then once I did, I was like, I'm never not doing this. The Carnivine clip, honestly, I think is my favorite thing. I came up with that idea, and I was like, I have to do this picture now just so I can draw that. I think it's precious. Pokemon, when will you make actual Carnivine alligator clips? Because I want one. I don't even have the hair for it, I just want one to have. So yeah, just flattening things in. Still kind of just eyeballing. Now, oh yeah, I do this, and then I move the line art later when I'm coloring and completely lose it. I didn't realize until I was watching the footage back, but it's fine. It still gives a similar effect the way it is now. And then here I go adding in makeup. My partner wears makeup. They like more nude tones and neutral shades, so I figured like a brown would work really well with the idea of a grass type trainer. Doing some hair shines, some anime hair shines. Didn't give my hair any because I'm not fancy. And then I think in a second, this is where I break out the purple. I almost always, yeah, you can see I'm doing my skin, but then I'm gonna, I like to over detail faces. This is a problem that I have. Is the purple? Yeah, there it is. I pretty much always shade with purple. I find that in most situations, purple looks the best for shading, in most lighting. And just for me, I like it. So I'll put it over, and then I'll usually multiply and kind of smooth it out. Highlights on the jacket, since it's supposed to be one of those puffy jackets. And there's me adding a gradient layer. I like to use gradient layers to color, because I think they kind of bring everything together, and for this one I wanted a green and purple one, since it's supposed to be, you know, plant and poison and bug. And I think it really drew the characters together. My customary Possum Breath outline. And I think I'm gonna put in a background. Oh yeah, this is me just messing with filters. Yeah, there we go. And there it is. It gave me a lot of serotonin, it gave my partner a lot of serotonin on a long work night, and I hope it gave you some serotonin to watch. Like I said, the Sage Clan video is still in the works. I kind of got ahead of myself and wound up writing the script for the entire clan, so I may just release it as a huge video next month. It's very likely I'm going to do that, because I just love these cats and want to introduce you to them. And I hope that you had, if not a good December, at least, you know, a December that you can recover from. I hope that you get to rest now after family or school or whatever else you had going on. It's always good to let yourself rest when you have the time to. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.